me. Know how I earn a living? This shark, swallow you whole. I value my neck a lot more than $3,000, Chief. Find him for 3, but I'll catch him and kill him for 10. $10,000 for me by myself. With that you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing.
You yell shark. We've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July.
Mr. Vaughn, I pulled a tooth the size of a shot glass out of the wrecked hull of the boat out there, and it was the tooth of a great white.
A what?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Love to prove that, wouldn't you? Get your name into the National Geographic.
No, I'm not saying that this is not the shark. It probably is, Martin. It probably is. It's a man-eater. It's extremely rare for these waters. But the fact is that the bite radius on this animal is different than the wounds on the victim.
Get out of that boat!
Well, this is not a boat accident. There wasn't any propeller. There wasn't any coral reef. And it wasn't Jack the Ripper.
It was a shark.
I'll never put on that nice jacket again.
Welcome back to another episode of the Jaws Obsession, where we are here to share with you, prove to you, convince you, or remind you that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time. Thank you very much for returning for episode 70, Fan Casting Quint. I am your host, Ryan Dacko, and author of the Book of Quint, soon to reach worldwide publication on November 15th, 2023. We are now 30 days and counting until Amberley Publishing releases the book to the world, usher in a new era of an expanded Jaws universe. And with the excitement, I can feel the energy building. I want to say welcome to the many new listeners that we have acquired in the last week. One of the first questions that I've always been fielding since the inception of the book is, will there be a feature film and who will play in the movie? And that is where we come up with the term fan casting. Fan casting is sometimes referred to as fan cast, dream casting, or fantasy casting, is defined as the practice of speculative casting suggesting actors, characters, or other individuals to play characters from a book, cartoon, or radio drama. Fan casting can also offer a clearer mental picture when reading fiction or the like, or just for fun. And that's what episode 70, Fan Casting Quint, is all about. Is that there was an Instagram reel heard round the world that was on the Book of Quint Instagram account at Book of Quint. A reel was posted with imagery of what a possible feature film the Book of Quint would look like. And it caught fire. That reel was viewed over 18,000 times in 6 days. And then that spread to other accounts. And we're going to get into that. We're going to explain exactly what's happening. And we're going to address the big name that was brought up with that. So this episode 70 of the Jaws Obsession will be somewhat of a change up in that we are now going to be addressing more of the Book of Quint and the expanded Jaws universe possibilities that are coming up in the near future. And remember, this is all to do is to show that Jaws is the greatest movie of all time, that Jaws will finally get its Godfather 2 treatment. We will see prequel elements to the story, to the characters of Jaws, and we will expand that universe to actually be engaged and pulled into the movie and the characters and the performance of the actors in the movie Jaws that much more after we read the Book of Quint. So this is all very exciting, and it's all changing. Every week there's a new plan. This episode was not originally planned like this, but because of the amount of email traffic, because of the amount of interest in the fan casting imagery that was released this past week, I felt that this had to be addressed. So we'll get to that, but let's first talk about any Book of Quint news. I started a Linktree account that you can get to over at, there's two ways you can get to it. If you go to our website, jawsob.com or bookofquint.com, that's going to take you go to the Book of Quint page. There is a link there that will take you right to the Linktree, as well as on our Instagram at Book of Quint. That is a list of all the links you need if you are interested in acquiring the Book of Quint for yourself. In whatever country you are in whatever area of the world you live in, there is a way to get the Book of Quint now. And those links are all available. They're all, I lined them up the best I could. So that will be probably ground zero now, where you can send anyone if they can go through that link tree and find links to various vendors in whatever area of the world that you live in, from Australia all the way to Canada. Yeah, the dates are still as follows, with November 15th, 2023 will be the worldwide release, where the book will be available in the UK, as well as Europe, Australia, and Japan. The delay for the North American release for United States and Canada, it is available. It's just that the books are being made in England because Amberley Publishing is a UK publisher, and they are going to be sending those overseas. So that takes time, the travel to get to the distribution centers. So there is the delay there. If you would like to acquire your Book of Quint before January 23rd, 2024, then what you can do is you can order from a vendor in England, and then they can ship it over. They can ship it over once those books are available. I'm also hearing now that November 15th is the target date. Some bookstores and book vendors will have their books available earlier, maybe November 7th. It's all very fluid. There might be some confusion, but that is what happens when you roll out a book in record time like this. You have to appreciate what Amberley Publishing has done for us here, is that every author that I have listened to, have read of, or talked to in this whole process has always said that it takes 8 months to a year for that book to reach shelves once you sign with a publisher. And Amberley Publishing is going to be doing this in 2 months. That is record time for a novel of this size to be rolled out to the world. This is a superhuman feat in the world of publishing. What we requested was that we wanted to keep this momentum going, is that we have the book to screen is in development for the feature film, and we wanted to keep the momentum going, and we felt that we want to stay on that Peter Benchley timeline. The Peter Benchley timeline being that 50 years ago, that Jaws was about to be published in early 1974. And here we are now getting this book out to the world, the Book of Quint, which is the prequel to Jaws. It will be now sent out to the world on that timeline. And what does that do? That gives Hollywood the time to actually make this movie for a 2025 release date, which is the 50th anniversary of Jaws. That has always been, ever since you've listened to episode 1 of the Jaws Obsession, that has always been the main goal here, is that this can happen if we all stand together and if we all make our voices heard, that it can happen. It's possible. And we are still on that timeline. We still have not gone to the point where we've overshot it, that it's still possible. And that's where Amberley Publishing has actually allowed this book to reach the world in record time. We have to appreciate that the odds that we are defying here to get this novel. The novel was, the earliest inspirations for this novel was in August of 2020. And then I started writing, there was a research phase. I started writing in October of 2021. This broadcast of the Jaws Obsession was started in December of 2021. It was 12 months of writing, and then we got the permission from Benchley IP LLC, from Wendy Benchley, that we were able to take this novel into publication. We had a limited edition 300 that were made from an Indiegogo campaign that went out to early readers and early backers of that Indiegogo campaign. And now here we are rolling out a worldwide release of the Book of Quint, the novel prequel to Jaws. And it is exciting. Why not? Right? Why not? And that's what we're doing. We're just asking questions at this phase. Why can't there be a prequel to Jaws in the year 2025? And we're going to get to that because that was the heart of that Instagram reel that was heard around the world. Tens of thousands of views. Multiple accounts have taken it and they've posted it themselves, and thousands of views on different platforms. Very exciting, and we're going to get into all that. Amberley Publishing is requesting that what we do is, if you can, go down to your local bookstore, independent bookstore or chain bookstore, if you have one in your area, and ask to pre-order the Book of Quint. What that does is that helps the distributor factor in how many books are needed in the future. And what they do is they request books to get printed and shipped. What we don't want to see is there is a demand that outpaces the supply. That's where the distributors have to factor in the metrics of how many are being pre-ordered and how many should they order. This is all part of the publication process. So if you go out and you pre-order through a bookstore, then those books will be available for those who might hear about this 2, 3, 4 months from now. Here in the upstate New York area, I did go into a Barnes & Noble with my wife about a week and a half ago, and we ordered the Book of Quint just to make sure the system was working, and I do have that receipt right now hanging above one of my monitors here. It's quite the accomplishment. There it is. It says Barnes & Noble Booksellers, 1 Book of Quint. So he ordered, and it has the ISBN number right on the receipt. It's so interesting to see this process happen. 2 years ago, the writing was still going on, and when we started this broadcast, it's always interesting to take a pause and see and never forget where you came from and how far you have come. And then looking forward, how far we still have yet to go. So that's our mindset at this time. I did have one email here before we get into Fancasting Quint. I had one email here from Chris. Chris wrote me and he said, "Hi, Ryan. I was wondering if you are going to have signed copies of your published book. If so, how and where may I purchase it? I was able to obtain a signed copy of your first edition, and it made last Christmas so special. All the best, Chris." Well, thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for writing in. And yes, as it stands now, with how busy I have been, one bookstore in England, Coles Books, C-O-L-E-S Books, that's coles-books.co.uk. You can find that link in the Linktree that I described earlier. They sent me 100 slides, which I will be autographing after I complete this broadcast. And then I will be sending that back to them, and they will be inserting them as a special edition. 100 Books of Quint will have those autographs professionally inserted inside the book as a special edition. And so if you contact Coles Books, they have a website. They also have a phone number there. You probably could order one of those. That's going to be, I don't know how they're going to roll those out, but just call them and ask them. That's going to be the first 100 autographed books. Those slides I'm going to do right after this, and I'm going to send those off. So by November 15th, those will be available. So those are the first 100, and if you are looking to get it before Christmas, I'm sure, and I do see they do ship to the United States. So if you are interested, you can order your Book of Quint from them over at coles-books.co.uk. They will reserve one, or they will send one over to you after they get the books completed with the signed plates inserted into those books. Thank you very much for writing, Chris. And thank you very much to Coles Books. Yeah, Coles Books, they're located at 22 Crown Walk, Pioneer Square, in Bicester, Oxfordshire, United Kingdom. How cool is that? And I have the cards. I have the slides right here. I will be autographing these and sending them on. So that, for now, that's going to be the first 100 autographed copies of the Book of Quint, the paperback version of the Book of Quint that will be going out. Thanks again, Coles Books. Speaking of signed books, had a great message over on Instagram. I do respond. You can reach me here at the show at jawsob2025@gmail.com, or you can message me over at Instagram at Book of Quint. And I had John from Saltwater Woodworks Inc. messaged me that he drove from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to New York City to go see Ian Shaw in the Broadway play The Shark is Broken. And what was exciting was that he brought his Book of Quint. He was one of the early backers to the Book of Quint, and he had one of the hardcover 300 editions that were sent out. And he brought that, and he has photographs of Mr. Ian Shaw signing the Book of Quint. How exciting is that? The son of Robert Shaw, Ian Shaw, signing the Book of Quint. It was great to see because almost 1 year ago, that episode 45, Jaws Timing, where I described taking the first, one of the first prototypes. When we had the limited publication back in 2022, I went to see The Shark is Broken when Ian Shaw was on stage in Toronto, Canada. And I went up there and presented him with the first one off the line, the first book that was off the printing press down in Lightning Press, New Jersey. I always like stories that have full circles, that have nice little tie-ins. And to see how it started a year ago, where presenting Ian Shaw with the Book of Quint, and now I get a message from John, who brought his Book of Quint to get autographed in Broadway as Ian Shaw reached the highest stage in the land, in the world. He's acting on Broadway, and he's signing the Book of Quint there. So nice little arc. It was a nice little story for me to see evolve. And I want to thank you, John, for sending me those photos and for including the Book of Quint in that special moment to see Ian Shaw play his father, Robert Shaw, on the set of Jaws. And as the Shark is Broken heads into its final month, it will be playing till November 19th in Broadway. Please look that up at The Shark is Broken, that you still have time to go see Ian Shaw. A once-in-a-lifetime chance to actually see, as close as you're going to get to see Robert Shaw, the performance in person. It's quite the experience, and I can't recommend that enough. So congratulations to them in the continued success down there on Broadway. We also had a message from Mark. Mark wrote in recently. He said, "Hi, Ryan. I know this has been asked before, and I have heard the excerpt on the podcast, but will there be an audio edition of the book? I'm going to buy the paperback anyways, but the audiobook would be great for my job." I said, definitely there will be an audiobook of the Book of Quint. So let's just get this ironed out. The ebook will be released on November 15th, and that will be available on all platforms throughout the world on November 15th. The audiobook is those at this point in time, those rights are being negotiated with certain production companies, and that is going to take a little longer to produce. However, I don't have an exact date on it, but I can definitely tell you 100% there will be an audiobook to the Book of Quint. And speaking from experience, it is very hard to find time to actually read. So if you want to listen while you're driving, or if you want to listen while you're walking your dog, the audiobook format has increased in popularity in recent years. Amberley Publishing is not ignoring that. So yes, we are going to have an audiobook. The date has yet to be announced, but I believe it will be sooner than later. Exciting. So yes, stay tuned to Jaws Obsession at our Instagram account at Book of Quint. And when I have more information on that, I will let you know. But thanks for writing in, Mark. And also, thanks for the kind words. He said, "You've done an amazing job with all of this. The Jaws community will forever be in your debt. Hopefully the Book of Quint will keep the Jaws legacy going for the next 50 years. Well done, sir." Thank you very much, Mark, for those kind words. And yes, that's what we're talking about, is extending that legacy for another 50 years. Jaws is going to be 50 years old. Why not have the biggest movie of 2025 be the prequel to the biggest movie of the last 50 years, Jaws? Oh, that's where we have to now address the 800-pound gorilla that's in the room. That's why we're here, and that's why we have many new listeners. We want to welcome the Henry Cavill fan base to the Jaws Obsession. The Instagram reel that was heard around the world was a compilation of images, of fan casting images showing Henry Cavill, the actor Henry Cavill, the man who played Superman, as Quint, and as he would appear as Quint in a feature film of the Book of Quint. Let's take this one step at a time. Let's talk about the actual fan casting, as it's called, and how did we get to Henry Cavill. The first thing, when I signed with the William Pettit agency, so my agent, Bill Pettit, he specializes in book-to-screen development. So what we had before we were even published, we had the process, the development of the book to screen. So the development of the feature film of the Book of Quint has already begun and has been going on since February of this year. And in that time, a pitch deck, pitch materials were created. We also had, it took me 2 months, but I was able to convert the novel into screenplay format. In that process, as the author, I was getting asked about my opinion on who would play Quint. My initial desire from the very beginning was to have the son of Robert Shaw, Ian Shaw, play Quint in the feature film. And that's who I envisioned while writing the novel. And Ian Shaw is a striking resemblance to his father. And then you reach to this level where now the potential movie budget now reaches into $100 million, that these bigger studios, they want A-list names. They want A-list actors to be mentioned, to be attached to the project. They want to know if they're going to commit this, if the investors want to know that if they're going to commit the capital to make a feature film, are they going to get a return on it? The reality of the situation on the ground is that you need A-list names to make a feature film this size possible. There are many hurdles still to cross. So we are still in the development stage. But at that point, you realize that you need a bigger name than the novelty of having the son of Robert Shaw play Quint. However, in the Book of Quint, we actually see the character Quint go from in his late 20s, age 28, all the way to 51. So the actor who plays Quint needs to be able to have that age range from 30s all the way into the 50s. Other names were mentioned, and at that point, I remember talking to my sister Gabriana, and she said, well, she's the first one to say Henry Cavill is a lock. She goes, he's the one to play Quint. We all have to remember that Jaws is, when I say Jaws is the greatest movie of all time, it is about how it affects us each individually. We all have our own stories, how we encountered the movie. Maybe we saw it with friends, maybe we saw it with family, but what Jaws means to the world as a whole is that it's an experience of watching the movie. At times, it's more memorable than the movie itself. The movie itself is unbelievable, and we've actually proven that about how deep those trajectories go on this podcast over these 70 episodes. But the experience of itself, the experience of watching the movie, has ingrained it into many cultures and many of our lives. To the point is that this character of Quint is very, very important. He has to be portrayed in a way that does Robert Shaw justice. Robert Shaw was the British actor who portrayed Quint, a performance that was heard around the world. At that point, you have to sit there and say, who is an A-list actor that can take this role on? Should there be a Book of Quint feature film? Is there an A-list actor that can adequately command the screen as Robert Shaw did back in the filming of Jaws in 1974, when the world was introduced to Jaws in 1975? Is there an actor that can bring that type of screen presence? And I feel that the actor that takes on the character of Quint in the feature film, if we are fan casting, he would have to be one. He has to be British, all right? Even though the character of Quint is an American character, Robert Shaw was a British actor, and he brought a British influence into that role. And that was able to translate to not only the accent that he put on, the New Englander accent that he had, but also in the mannerisms and in some of the lines, the color that he added to the lines. And so I feel that in order to have the same success formula that Jaws had, you have to still keep these little attributes the same. And the actor who plays Quint, a younger version of Quint, should be British. The actor will hail from the same traditions as Robert Shaw when approaching the role. The other number two aspect of this actor is that he has to be able to command the screen. Robert Shaw could command the screen with just his eyes. We all know that from the beginning of the movie. You all know me. You know how I earned a living.
You all know me. Know how I earn a living. I'll catch this bird for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. It's bad fish.
A lot of Quint in the Book of Quint is there is a dark beauty to Quint's life. And if that were to be translated from book to screen, from novel to screen, is that will have to be translated a lot in the eyes, in just the look. It can't be through gimmicky speeches or just action sequences. It has to be sometimes in just the look, the way he can command the screen with just his eyes. So that is where I believe Henry Cavill is the right man for the job at this time, at this point in time. And that's what I have to stress here, is that the Book of Quint, like Jaws, is making itself, is that you can try to force a mechanical shark to work. But if it doesn't work, the director has to use yellow barrels and make the scenes happen anyways. The result, a much more powerful scene. The process gets to a point where you have this actor is available at this time in the year 2023, going into 2024. Mr. Henry Cavill, who is now 40 years old, hails from Great Britain. He is most assuredly, he's most certainly an A-list actor name that can command the screen. Recently, we learned that his name was out of the running for James Bond. He will not be reprising his role as Superman in any future movies. So he is now at a point in his career where maybe a challenging role to actually take on the acting challenge of taking up this mantle. He's not shy of taking up the mantle of Superman. Certainly, I believe Mr. Cavill would shine taking up the mantle as one of the greatest character performances of all time, Quint in Jaws. So that was in the spring going into summer. And then what happened was we had the strikes in Hollywood. The Writers Guild strike as well as the Screen Actors Guild went on strike, and productions ground to a halt. And these strikes are very important. Union representation is important. I myself belong to a union, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, as I work on power lines. So the union representation is important in this equation, and they have some serious issues still to work out. I just recently learned that even though the Writers Guild was able to reach an agreement, the Screen Actors Guild has not. So productions are still stalled. And during that time, meetings have have also slowed down as talk of future movies is up in the air. The book to screen process has slowed. But in that time, many were given pause to use their imagination and actually think of actually simulate what would a feature film of the Book of Quint look like starring Henry Cavill. That is where the topic of the day is AI, artificial intelligence. AI was brought into the equation. I've had images sent to me from all over that are absolutely stunning, showing Henry Cavill as Quint. So what I did was then I compiled that into a reel, and I felt that at this time, we're going to go all in. We're going to go all in here. I wanted to just show the world exactly what is the possibility with the Book of Quint. So the description I put on the video was this. I said, at Universal Pictures, for the 50th anniversary of Jaws in 2025, why can't there be a Jaws prequel starring Henry Cavill as Quint, directed by Steven Spielberg with a score composed by John Williams? With the novel The Book of Quint about to hit bookshops around the world, it's all right here, just asking. And that's all we're doing. We're just asking. The Book of Quint feature film, July 2025, December 2025. Why not? Why can't there be a prequel starring Henry Cavill, directed by Spielberg and composed by John Williams? The novel is there. It all starts with a book. Remember, Jaws all started with the book, the novel Jaws. And here we are with the Book of Quint, a novel. It can't get any more. History does repeat itself, and it can't get any more possible than right now, right here, as you're listening to my voice. When you see these images, it actually just feels right. Everything feels right. As the reel was posted, everyone can go to Instagram.com @bookofquint. You can see the reel. I have it pinned up at the top of the page. You can watch that. You can actually see this. It's only 45 seconds long. That received 18,000 views inside 6 days. And then it was also sent around and posted on other accounts. And there are tens of thousands of views around the world have seen and have registered their opinions. What happens now, the comments are overwhelmingly positive. We had MS Robin 11. Oh, wow, that gave me chills. Needs to happen. This movie needs to get made. From FMC Built. S. Allen 1969. That would be absolutely perfect. And Dawn chimes in and says, yes, please. So it is no big secret that this would actually add to the allure of how do you get audiences to go to the cinemas to see a feature film. And as the investors, as the studio system looks at, should they go all in on a feature film, they want to see, is there an attached fan base? And the Jaws does have an attached fan base, but what does Mr. Cavill bring? Mr. Cavill now brings the Henry Cavill fans. And that is what I am seeing, is that just explodes the possibilities of this project. One Cavill superfan, HC38 Jersey on Instagram, then took the images and made her own video of it. And that really reached a potential, introduces the Book of Quint to an entirely new audience. And the reception was amazing. We had KP Mowry 85. She said, oh, wow, this would be so incredible to see a prequel of Quint's USS Indianapolis days during World War II. He is such an amazing character and added so much color to Jaws. I could go on forever, but my love for that movie and those three men. But yes, it would be epic to have Spielberg team up with Henry and, of course, John Williams. Wow, just wow. The fan casting imagery that has been coming in, I have hundreds of images. You see in real time, you're seeing that. Remember, on the last episode, on episode 69, I talked of artificial intelligence, that it's here to stay. And if we use it as a tool, not as a crutch, but if we use it as a tool, we can do great things. We can actually make projects possible when 10 years ago, this was impossible to have. It was impossible to have this type of artwork created, high-end concept art that you used to have to, only the studio system would have access to. And here we are, we're able to create that with ourselves as our own community, as a fan base. And that's where we now have the Henry Cavill fan base has now been enlisted by the Jaws Obsession, welcomed and enlisted by the Jaws Obsession to start a draft of Henry Cavill. We need to start a hashtag, maybe hashtag draft Henry, but we have to get this book into Mr. Cavill's hands. There is a formal way of doing this. We do have my agent Bill Pettit, is well underway with the book to screen, as I described earlier. But in fact, I guess I can reveal it now. I was asked to write a letter to Mr. Cavill to formally explain why I believe he's best for the role. I'm not going to read you the letter. That's going to be for Mr. Cavill. However, I do bring up the two prerequisites that I believe are very important for any actor who's going to portray Quint on screen, and that is he's British and that he can command the screen in a presence that mirrors Robert Shaw. And it doesn't stop there. There was one other big name whose production company has shown interest, and I was asked to write a letter to this individual, and I'm not going to say it. I've been biting my tongue forever. But I was also asked to write a letter to this individual to introduce the project and to show that the Book of Quint can take its place among the Hollywood stars. So that's what I've been doing behind the scenes here. That's all part of the process of this book to screen development. But I can assure you, ladies of the Jaws Obsession, if this movie were to be made with Mr. Cavill and this other individual, who's no stranger to nautical movies, the ladies of the Jaws Obsession and Jaws fan base would have no problem attending a theater to watch these two actors square off on screen. And it's very exciting, the possibilities, and let's see if we can make this happen. That's where social media comes to play, is that if we make enough noise, and if we have the Cavill fans on board, we have the Jaws fans on board, what we are doing is we are establishing a coalition of fan bases. This is like a political campaign. That's exactly what we're doing here. We are building coalitions, a big tent, and we're getting everybody underneath to create a demand for a movie that hasn't been made yet by getting behind the novel. Fan casting imagery of Henry Cavill as Quint has played a major role in redefining this coalition and extending our bubble, extending our reach out, that anything can happen if we stand together and we make our voices heard. And that can be done through the Book of Quint release, which is November 15th. And it's not just the purchasing of the novel. It's not about selling books. What we're doing is we're visualizing. We are actually going to be able to watch the movie, that when you read the novel, you will be watching the movie.
Hi, I'm Bob Ross, and for the next 13 weeks, I'll be your host as we experience the joy of painting. I think each of us, sometime during our life, has wanted to paint a picture. I think there's an artist hid in the bottom of every single one of us. And here we will try to show you how to bring that artist out, to put it on canvas, because you too can paint almighty pictures. You know, we have avoided painting for so long because I think all of our lives we've been told that you have to go to school half your life, maybe even have to be blessed by Michelangelo at birth to ever be able to paint a picture. And here we want to show you that that's not true, that you can paint a picture right along with us. We start with a vision in our heart and we put it on canvas. And we're here to teach you to be able to do this too. So let's do it. Let's paint a picture right here.
And that was Bob Ross from The Joy of Painting, Season 1, Episode 1, on January 11th, 1983. That started the 27 seasons of The Joy of Painting. I grew up, as many of you listening might have as well, watching this man create something from nothing. And I'm still fascinated at what he was able to achieve. It's not that his painting was the most advanced type of painting. It's that he inspired millions to step out of their comfort zone and step out and actually create themselves. And when you watch him work, it was amazing because he would start creating and the painting would start to make itself. Remember, he had that one famous saying. He said, "There are no mistakes, there's just happy accidents." And so if he had something where maybe a color didn't mix right, or if the brush went one way and he meant it to go the other way, he would just course correct and he would change it, but the painting would end up maybe better than he originally envisioned. What he was just communicating to us is that you don't have to wait to be told how to do it. You don't have to wait for the professionals to say, you can go do this now, or you can watch this now. He said you can just go, you can start doing it. And he showed a simple technique, the wet painting technique that he used. Not just taught me about, I never became a painter, but what I liked was the process, but also the experience of watching him create. Sitting around the TV with my family and hearing how my father would say, "Oh, watch this guy, watch what he's going to do now." And then he would have this great painting, and then he would take a streak of brown and just go right down the middle. And oh my goodness, he ruined it now. And it wasn't. He'd make that into a glorious tree. You'd have branches going off of it, and then he'd put the colors in, and now you have a tree in the middle, like a pine tree on the front side of the canvas. It was just so amazing to see that type of creation. But what I wanted to do, and this is kind of the special thing with the Jaws obsession, is that so with this episode 70, what I wanted to show, and I never knew that. If you told me back on episode 1, back in December of 2021, that I was going to be playing a clip of Bob Ross and bringing Bob Ross into the Jaws world, I would have said you were nuts. There's no way. But here I am doing it on episode 70. Is that what I wanted to use that example is that I wanted to show that as we have this novel coming out called the Book of Quint, the reason why that I have never had video for these broadcasts is that this, to me, was a boot camp for your mind. For me, it was helping me communicate and to communicate what I'm seeing inside the movie Jaws. But what I realized what was happening was this was a boot camp for your mind. In our day and age, everything is so visual based. If you see, all the commentary usually has a visual on YouTube and everywhere. And the podcasting world is just straight audio. But a lot of the podcasts have videos, that video version that goes along with it, and they put that on YouTube. But if you look at our YouTube channel, it's still just the audio. There is no video for this. So what it helps me to do is it helps me to communicate what I am seeing. and lay those facts out to you that you can better understand them, because I know you don't have that video I don't have the crutch of just pointing to the video and saying, look here. I have to describe that to you. So that helps me become a better writer. And for you, as you've listened to me now for 70 episodes, what I hope is that you've listened together. What we have done is we have listened to and visualized the scenes from Jaws. We've heard narration and readings from the novel. You've conditioned yourself to watch the movie in the theater of your mind, and you will do that now as you read the novel. Because you have been here on the Jaws Obsession, you are now going to watch that movie as you read the Book of Quint. So here's the new wrinkle that was never expected, that no one ever saw coming, that came out of left field, is the wrinkle of artificial intelligence, the world of AI. That has now come into the equation. We're now fan casting, and we can say, what if? What if the movie looked like this? What would it look like? What if Henry Cavill decided to play Quint? What would it look like? And here's what we have. We have the most stunning imagery coming out. And it was never expected to reach this type of level. And it's great to see. It's exciting to see. So going forward, how can we use AI as a tool? And this is how we are going to do this. I believe the Book of Quint will be the world's first debut novel, of which the reader can now look into the world AI creates before a movie exists. In all of our lives, the book would always have to wait on Hollywood. You would read the book and you would say, wow, that would make a great movie. And then you would wait for Hollywood to catch up. And the processes, pre-production, and then the production, and then all that, and the anticipation of going to see the movie. But now, you as the reader, technology is now advanced to the point where you as the reader will have the advantage. Your imagination and the written word, as you heard Bob Ross say earlier, he said you can paint and you can be an artist too. Well, what I'm saying now to you is that you can be the director. You can make the movie in your mind. And that is what we are showing with this imagery, with this AI imagery that's coming in. It's now an extension of the creative mind, the creative imagery from a movie that doesn't exist yet. And that is very exciting. This has never been done before. So what I am announcing now, we've already started it. We are doing a 31 days to the Book of Quint celebration on Instagram. I will be placing on Instagram, we're now on 30 days. Every day there is going to be a new image from an expanded Jaws universe. And we're going to count down the days to November 15th when the Book of Quint is released. And after you see all of this imagery come at you, the fire will be lit and you will now watch the movie in your mind as you read the novel. So I invite everybody to come over. I am not only going to place the title, the cards on Instagram, but I will also put the cards without any titles or graphics on them. So then you can share them or you can make your own. I invite you as a fan to make your own compilation videos, make your own reels, and share them with friends and family. And let everybody know that this process of the Book of Quint is groundbreaking. It's something that I never expected, and we are going to take this as far as we can. Let's see where this takes us as a community, as a reading community, and let's see how far we can take this. As it stands now, is that this is all in the fan casting stages. We're just having fun. We're asking questions. Why can't there be a film? Why can't it look like this? But one of the quotes that always sits with me is from Steve Martin. Steve Martin was quoted as saying, "Be so good they can't ignore you." That is the process of that we're looking for. If we work as hard as we can, if we push as far and go and take this as far as we can, make it so good they can't ignore it. Who knows what the future has in store? I want to thank everybody for your time and listening. This has been episode 70 of the Jaws Obsession, a very special episode, Fan Casting Quint.
Next week, we're looking forward to seeing you. We hope you have your brush ready, a dream in your heart that you want to put on canvas. And you, too, can build fantastic pictures. You can take them from here and put them on there. Until next week, happy painting from all of us here.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I had a little think about an hour ago, and it's got right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea or home.
All right, the countdown to the Book of Quint has begun. We are now on the 31 days to the Book of Quint. Today was day 30. And please visit at Book of Quint over at Instagram.com for the AI cards that we will be posting there to show you advanced imagery from what could be the Book of Quint. We have fan casting of Mr. Henry Cavill going on, all having fun, all asking the question, why not? Why not a prequel to the movie Jaws in the year 2025 with this novel that will reach worldwide publication on November 15th, 2023, the Book of Quint. Also remember the Linktree in the for pre-order links will be available over at bookofquint.com, jawsob.com. Also listed in the bio of the Instagram account over at Book of Quint. The movie Jaws is copyrighted property of Universal Studios. Any references and sampling from the movie Jaws in this episode is intended to fall within Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Copyrighted materials are fairly used for the purposes of criticism, comment, reporting, teaching, and research. Materials used here are protected by the fair use guidelines of Section 107 of the Copyright Act. All rights reserved to the copyright owners. Thank you very much for listening this week, and very exciting. We are going to have John back for episode 71 with that revelation, that historical Jaws artifact that he uncovered. It's going to be a very in-depth episode, so I invite you all back here for episode 71. Thank you for listening, and till next time, farewell and adieu, and show me the way to go home.